Thank you very much, Representative Antonio. If we really want to create opportunity and attract businesses of the new economy, one of the most important things our state should be doing in our budget is investing in our children and investing in our workers to make certain that they get the best education in the best schools to compete for the jobs of the future. Recently, Ohio schools were rated a C and ranked 18th in the nation. We shouldn't be happy with average. We can't settle for the status quo. We must strive for world-class schools that will make us a national leader, in fact, a global leader in education. We know how to make this happen. We start by investing in early childhood education, where we have the most impact. Studies show that brain development happens when children are quite young, and we need to take advantage of that small window of opportunity. To take advantage of this, we need to provide an equal opportunity framework for children from all backgrounds to excel. The next step is to think long-term about the educational opportunities we can provide Ohioans. From early childhood education through K-12 to education that can retrain workers later in life for jobs in advanced sectors of the economy. A key factor in retaining and educating is making higher education and community college more affordable and more accessible. The rise in college tuition has far outpaced inflation by more than 1,000% since the late 70s, where the CPI has risen at less than a quarter of that rate. And in Ohio, the state has quite simply failed to provide its fair share to improve affordability and access to students. The state has decreased its investment in our higher education by 26% between the 80s and 2005. We used to provide the majority of a student's cost. Now that burden is on the families. On average, college costs an Ohio family 20% of their total income to put their child through a four-year public university, a rate 40% higher than the national average, which is too high as well. Our state has done nothing to fairly fund our schools, which is next to nothing to fairly fund our schools, which the Supreme Court has ordered us to do multiple times. Instead, we are shifting the responsibility to pay for schools onto local taxpayers by ending the state cost sharing for local levies, many of which go to local schools. A 12.5% levy cost increase. And we're cutting over $500 million recently from school funding. We must also improve graduation rates. We still have 20% of Ohio's kids dropping out. And that's not across the board. There are communities, particularly in poorer urban and rural areas, where that number is unfortunately much higher. We can't do all of this when all of our schools aren't playing by the same rules. We need to reform charter schools and make absolutely certain that they are held to the same standards as our public schools. Recent investigations, which we've all seen and you've all reported on, reveal what appears to be the over-reporting of attendance in charter schools, to take in more taxpayer dollars at failing for-profit charters that simply aren't providing the education for the amount of children that they say that they are. Families cannot afford to keep funding unaccountable failing charter schools to the detriment of all of our children's future. It is time for systemic change. We need to level the playing field so kids and adults, workers from all corners of our state have an equal opportunity for a world-class education that prepares them for jobs in advanced sectors of our economy. It's now my pleasure to introduce Representative Alicia Reece, who will speak on on the building opportunity.
Thank you, Representative Ramos, and thank you, Ranking Member Denise Driehaus. I'm pleased to be here to represent the 33rd, Fighting 33rd House District, and to also join my colleagues from the Finance Committee. Quality schools and an educated workforce are important to investing in our future. And a key part of that is rebuilding communities to grow businesses and the middle-class families that drive economic growth. Economic studies repeatedly indicate that taxes are not the top priority for business decisions, but an educated workforce and attractive communities with robust infrastructures are key considerations when businesses are looking to relocate and expand. We need to be developing our communities in an attractive and sustainable way that encourages small business growth and provides opportunity for families to thrive. Yes, it seems like there's been an inside Beltway mindset here, coming right here from Columbus, where folks that are making key decisions for our state forget about sending tax dollars they collect from local communities like my community back home in Cincinnati and Hamilton County. I often have said on the Finance Committee there seems to be a disconnect between the State House and your house, known as what I call trickle-down taxation. The citizens of Ohio don't live in the Rife Center or on Capitol Square or in our Finance Committee hearing rooms. In fact, many of my citizens work 2 and 3 jobs and cannot take off work to be here for the Finance Committee hearings, and that's why they send us here to represent them. They live in local communities, communities where they want the police and fire to come when they call, communities where they want access to parks, libraries, and recreation centers, communities where businesses want safe, humming, and buzzing neighborhoods to expand in and also for those neighborhoods to grow. But instead of making strategic investments in our communities, Columbus has held on to almost $500 million generated from these local communities. And instead of sending it back to the communities, we hold on to it here in Columbus. And that pain back home has been real. In fact, the Enquirer had a story this Sunday talking about Cincinnati not really recovering from the economic recession. 1/3 of Ohio communities lack the recommended level of budget reserves, while local communities have been forced to cut 41,000 jobs from police officers, essential personnel, and firefighters, according to Policy Matters Ohio. And all the while, cuts to communities have only shifted taxes even more. Again, trickle-down taxation. Though our communities are resilient and innovative in various ways, many have still been forced to increase local taxes to make the ends meet, while coping with an eroding tax base due to declining property taxes, for example. Our state is only as strong as our local communities, where our citizens live and services are delivered to them directly every day. Rebuilding our communities will help drive business growth, consumer confidence, and quality jobs in every corner of our state, not just here in Columbus, the metropolitan area. We must invest in our local communities and return those dollars. I'd like to turn it back